Spaghetti Garden. And this one is not AR. This is so you can complete the graphic organizer. Enku sat in her new room, and thought about all the recent changes in her life. Last year, she went to school with friends she had known since she was little. In a few weeks, she would go to a school where she didn't know anyone at all. Last year, Dad had taken her to school the first day. This year, it would be Graham. It would be Graham for everything from now on, now that she lived with Graham in her apartment and in another part of the city. Enku felt a huge knot grow in her stomach and tried to push it away, working hard to not cry. She had no choice but to face reality, and she knew Dad wouldn't want her to sit around moping. When Mom died, Dad told Enku that Mom would want her to continue to have fun and enjoy life. She had to do the same now that Dad had lost his life in a car accident. But it was hard to find reasons to smile. Enku went into the kitchen to eat Graham's chichibs, pieces of warm fried bread flavored with spicy butter and yogurt. At least that was familiar and comforting. "I'd like you to go to the store for me," said Graham. "Do you know where it is?" Enku nodded, took the short shopping list, and headed outside past a group of people working, laughing, and singing in the community garden next door. A girl about her age waved to her and shouted, "Want help? Want to help?" Enku shook her head and yelled back, "Sorry, I don't know anything about gardening." And I don't want to learn, she thought. Mom had tried to organize a community garden in their old neighborhood. Enku never saw the point, and neither did most of their neighbors. There was a great farmers' market nearby. It meant good produce with no work. "It's not just the produce," Mom would say. "It's about being part of a community." But Enku would just roll her eyes. Back in the apartment and feeling bored, Enku started kicking a soccer ball around her room. "Enku," said her grandmother at her door, "you can't play ball inside. It will disturb the neighbors. Why don't you go to the park? I often said, I don't know any kids in this neighborhood, and I'd feel strange just jumping into a game. I wish I could play with the kids in my old neighborhood." Graham looked sad and said softly, "I know, Enku. I wish you could too." Enku knew that Graham missed Dad too, so she picked up a book, hoping to get involved in a happier story than the one she was living. As the summer dragged on, Enku ran errands for Graham and learned her way around the neighborhood. She passed her new school and noticed that it looked a lot like her old one. She wandered in the park and saw kids her age, but she wasn't confident enough to approach them. When no one was around, she stopped at the community garden and looked at the plants. They were mostly vegetables, and she could recognize some of them, including tomatoes growing up on stakes, onions, and a variety of peppers. It made her think of the Timitim salad her mother used to make with tomatoes, chilies, and onions. "I wonder if Graham knows how to make Timitim," she thought. Enku could see the garden from her bedroom window, and she sometimes liked to watch the gardeners pull weeds, tie vines to stakes, and water the vegetables. She noticed that the girl who had called to her the first day was there almost every morning. Enku had also seen her in the park kicking a soccer ball with some other kids, and she wondered if the girl would be in her class at her new school. "That would be good. At least there would be a familiar face, even if I don't really know her," she thought. Then one night, as Enku was getting ready for bed, she suddenly heard shouting outside. Looking out the window, she was shocked to see that several older kids had pushed over the garden gate and were wildly knocking over tomato stakes and pulling up plants. "Stop! Cut it out!" Enku screamed out the open window, but the raucous kids just looked up at her and laughed. Soon there were random piles of tomato, onion, and pepper plants scattered around the garden. Hearing the ruckus, Graham joined Enku at the window and was incensed at the destruction she saw. So the two of them ran into the hall, knocking on neighbors' doors and pleading for help, pleading for people to help them save the garden. A few doors opened and several neighbors rushed downstairs to help. Entering the garden, they met a group from the building on the other side of the garden. The girl Enku's age was among them. The rowdy kids ran when they saw the crowd approaching. But the sight of the upended plants left a lump in Enku's throat. She'd watched the gardeners for many days and understood that this garden was important to many people. And maybe it was becoming important to her now, too. So she turned to the others, wanting to help them rescue as many plants as possible. The girl came over to her, smiled, and started talking a mile a minute. No, my grandpa said that you were the one who first saw those kids and got us all to rush over here. Thanks so much. We've been working hard in the garden all summer. I call this the spaghetti garden because my nonna makes spaghetti sauce after we harvest the tomatoes. Then we have a big potluck dinner at the end of the summer. You should come. Oh, my name is Lily. What's yours? When Enku said her name, she was surprised to hear Lily shout, Hey, everyone, this is Enku. She's the one who heard those kids and shouted for everyone to help. We should give her a big cheer. Much to Enku's embarrassment, everyone cheered loudly. Then they got to work. Lily's grandpa took charge and showed them how to replant as many of the vegetables as possible. They put in new tomato stakes, dug new holes where necessary, and covered the roots with the dark soil. Then, when the group was finished, they stopped to survey their work, wiping dirt from their hands and feeling satisfied they'd done all they could. Enku felt absolutely exhilarated. I guess Mom did have a point about community gardens, she thought. I think most of the garden will survive, said Lily's grandpa. A special thanks again to Enku for getting us all down here in time. Enku, I hope you'll continue to help us with the garden. It would be great to have an extra pair of helping hands. The next morning, Enku told Graham she would be out in the garden. Enku was happy to see Lily when she got there, and Lily started telling her all about the neighborhood kids, including herself. I've lived here since I moved in with Nono when I was 3, so it's been just the two of us for a long time, she explained. At lunchtime, Lily offered to share her sandwich with Enku. And as the girls ate, Lily said, I usually go to the park in the afternoon to play soccer. Nothing formal, just a bunch of kids kicking a ball. Do you like soccer? I love it, Enku said. I played soccer in my old neighborhood, and I noticed you playing in the park, but I didn't know if you'd want anyone new. Absolutely, said Lily. We love new players. So after that, Enku divided her days between the garden and the park. In August, after the vegetables were harvested, it was finally time for the potluck dinner. Enku worked with Lily to help prepare for the dinner, setting up long tables near the garden. She placed big bowls of Graham's Tim salad next to large bowls of spaghetti coated with Lily's Nono's tomato sauce, and she felt real pride as all the neighbors arrived and took their seats. Soon everyone was eating, laughing, and talking. Enku saw lots of familiar faces, neighbors, gardeners, and kids. Then Enku looked at her neighbors around the tables and realized that for the first time in a long time, she actually felt happy. She laughed to herself, thinking that what the garden was called didn't actually matter. It could take any name. Maybe, she thought, looking at all her new friends, it should simply be called People Garden. Okay, there you go. And I will be posting the graphic organizer that goes along with it. And I'll post the words to the book as well. I can't post the pictures, I don't think, but you'll be able to see the words so you know how to spell Enku and some of the other names and things from the book. Good luck on the assignment. Let me know if you need help.